Kids and adults alike, they all just love seeing Jonathan, and it just brings a smile to everybody's face.
To have an opportunity to tell a more joyful piece, I think was the coolest part about it.
If there's anything wrong in Glen Ellyn, Jonathan might come around the corner, with his cape and be there ready to help.
The piccolo is my favorite because it plays the highest. I also know how to play the flute, alto flute and bass flutes, the E flat and B flat clarinets, soprano, alto, and tenor saxophones. The violin, viola, cello, and the string bass. And I also know how to get music as opposed to noise out of a keyboard. It was on Sesame Street that I first learned about Superman, as he was talking about the letter S, and I believe in the ideals that he represents. And so there's only one reason why he does no mischief, let alone anything criminal or evil. He chooses not to out of respect for morale.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another one of our director conversations for the Reelist Indie Film Club. This week we are talking with Sam Mirpoorian and Adam Oppenheim, who are the directors of a really incredible short film called Saving Superman. Welcome, guys. Thanks very much for being here. I'm very excited to have the film on the platform.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're excited to partner with you guys, and we're super grateful for you to have us.
Yeah, likewise.
Well,
thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Origin story. How did this film come to be?
You want me to start, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty simple, actually. So Julie Spiller, who's featured in the film, she is my aunt. So the story was kind of always there. Since I was a kid, I've always known who Jonathan was. I didn't spend a lot of time with him as a kid. I didn't get to know him super well or anything like that, but I always grew up knowing who Jonathan was, knowing who Superman was, to the town of Glen Ellyn and to my aunt Julie. And it always just was really curious to me, who is Jonathan? What's his story? Always just interested me to find out more. Julie would always tell me these stories, and I vividly remember, the story where, not to spoil anything in the film, but where, Jonathan, quote unquote, saved her. So Sam and I had always gone back and forth about doing this project, and, as independent filmmakers, it's always extremely hard, as every filmmaker knows. It's hard to go out and just do something. It seems to some people it might seem that easy, but it's not. And so we'd talk about it. It wouldn't happen. And we'd try to circle back and do it the next year. Eventually Julie just said, "Hey, things might not be perfect, but do you want to come up and try to shoot this 4th of July?" And that was July of 2023, if I'm not mistaken, when we filmed July 3rd and July 4th. And that's really the 2 days that we shot Saving Superman. And it's a short film. It's only a 10-minute short documentary, but I know a lot of people had mentioned that it seemed like it took a lot longer than 2 days to put that, to get that all together. But no, it was really 2.5 days. There was a pickup day that following December, when Sam and I had gotten done with the edit and kind of knew what pickup shots we needed. But yeah, that's really the origin of Saving Superman. Was he was just kind of a part of the family, really.
Sam, what was appealing to you about the film as a concept?
Yeah, I mean, the closeness that Adam has with the story definitely felt like really the decision needs to reside with him, as far as if and when that moment or time would have ever had arrived, or if it would come. Yeah, and I don't know if Adam mentions, maybe he did. Yeah, but we've been aware of Jonathan and the story for a decade. And I think it just became just apparent when the timing worked out really well, and it would have been really crazy to follow the journey in the middle of the of the battle with his home and everything. But obviously, we made it work to the best of our ability. But yeah, I mean, I think the appeal is like, I feel like every story that we work on, and just stories in general, are always just like very ingrained with sadness and the sense of somberness and poignancy. And I think this story, for the first time really ever, at least if you were to like go on our websites or go to our IMDb's, it's like a happier story, or a story with like optimism, and that just seems like such a rarity at this point. So to have an opportunity to tell a more joyful piece, I think was the coolest part about it, for sure.
Was that pandemic influenced? We just come out of a world of crap, and were you looking for something that could connect to a little bit of positivity in the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's funny. I subconsciously probably thought about that more than consciously, for sure. And Adam probably can talk about that too. Where I just think like, when you look at films that are, especially in the doc space, like a lot of the doc films, I mean, sometimes there's always like, like happier stories that are successful. But even when I think about this last Oscar race that we just went through, where we were predicted to go pretty far, some had us winning it all, some had us getting nominated, getting shortlisted, got snubbed entirely. But the competition around us, a lot of films, All the Empty Rooms, Josh Seftel's film that ended up winning. It's a harrowing, super sad story, a horrifically sad story that should never ever occur. But it's like those kind of stories that are the ones that really, and just stories that are just very serious. And I think just having an opportunity to tell something happier, like Jonathan's story, I think was a privilege for sure.
Yeah. My only follow up with that is that I don't think we intentionally set out to like tell a perfectly happy story with a great ending and a great outcome, but I just think that was the way this one was meant to be. And yeah, I mean, just it really is beautiful seeing how Jonathan's friends and how the entire town, even perfect strangers, rallied around someone that, they didn't have to, but these people, they felt, compelled to come out and, support him in a time of need. And I think what the town of Glen Ellyn, and like even, people beyond the town of Glen Ellyn, it was a worldwide story, when it hit the news. I think it's a good example of like what we should try for more often, as human beings, as a society. We should want to help our neighbors and do good as often as we possibly can. It really makes a difference, and it makes it makes the change. So yeah.
And I think films, I think, are a great vehicle for being able to share that. It's not all just our own personal little worlds, right? Just a little bit wider, and you can show it through film in a very special way. There are good things happening, and I think for me that was one of the rewarding parts of watching the film is that reminder. So kudos to that. For those who don't know, who is Jonathan, and where does the idea of Superman fit into this?
Sam, do you want to take that, or I can start?
No, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that hasn't seen the film yet, Jonathan, I want to say he's now 59 years old. He would correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was 57 at the time that we filmed Saving Superman. He grew up in the neighboring town to Glen Ellyn. I believe it was Wheaton. He would correct me if I was wrong, but a neighboring town to Glen Ellyn. And yeah, he's been a member of the community ever since. He's been in every single 4th of July parade for the past 30 years as Superman. He dresses up in his awesome Superman costume, and kids and adults alike, they all just love seeing Jonathan, and it just brings a smile to everybody's face. He was actually the grand marshal of the last 4th of July parade that we just had this year, 2026, in Glen Ellyn. So and his mom, who's featured in the film so much, she opens the film. There's a beautiful photo of Jonathan and her hugging along the parade route this past year. Sam and I wanted to be there so badly, but I think both of us ended up having to work. But just absolutely incredible that she was able to get to witness him, lead the 4th of July parade. That was the first time in his history of being in the parade, being the grand marshal and being at the front of it. And yeah, he's a staple in Glen Ellyn. And if there's anything wrong in Glen Ellyn, you can, Jonathan might come around the corner, with his cape and be there ready to help. He really is just like he's the epitome of what we should all try to strive for more is, when my aunt was in trouble, when she, when somebody stole from her store, and, she made the choice to confront them because she, probably didn't have the time to think about how dangerous that was. And when she was faced with, a combative, dangerous person who, was, who knows like what that could have escalated and turned into. Here comes Jonathan. I mean, in his cape and all. And he turns the corner, and then, the rest is in the film, what happens after that. But, he was there for her, and that was the beginning of their friendship, and they've been best friends ever since. Julie, of course, there's a lot of responsibilities for her in helping Jonathan with his day-to-day. Any sort of like, paperwork, health, stuff like that. Jonathan has a full-time job as well. So he's very self-sufficient. He goes to work every day. He commutes on the metro train to work, and he uses the same vehicle to get to karate. I don't know how many times a week he's at the dojo, but that is a huge part of his life, is his karate. He's a triple black belt. Maybe even if there's anything above a triple black belt, he probably has it by this time. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he was telling me that he was going for another belt or something. But yeah, that's Jonathan in a nutshell. He's a rocket enthusiast. I don't know if he'd consider himself a rocket scientist, but rockets are a huge part of his life. He loves to, that's what he does, is he competes, and these rocket competitions, whatever you'd call them. He plays a ton of instruments, which is really neat. He's just a multifaceted guy. He's got a lot of talent.
You co-directed the film. For those who don't know how that works, I think there's a lot of times that people think, well, it's just one person who is the director of a film. How did you how does it work when you co-direct?
Yeah, I mean, Sam and I do a lot of projects together, and we have done so many projects together since, the fruition of our filmmaking journeys. This was just one that, like, although, like, Jonathan and Julie being, my aunt, and the story being so close and personal to me, I really, especially with having to pack like 2 18-hour days into, like, just pack so much into such a short window. The interviews were shot on the same day. Obviously, they're the same look between him and his mom. And that was simply just because we had no time to flip the set and to get a different look. And Jonathan said, I'm ready, after watching his mom go. And who am I to say, no, I said, let's do it. So I count on Sam so much when, like, I'm so just hyper focused on the production, getting us through the day. Sam and Julie were critical when it came to, like, putting this together as a story. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it worked. And Sam took such a lead with post-production. Sam was a phenomenal editor, super talented editor. So he took the lead with the edit, which was critical. Again, like there are certain things that I just wouldn't consider my strong suit. So yeah, Sam, I'll let you chime in on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think not to be super redundant. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an all encompassing collaborative experience, and I think Adam and I have really developed over the past decade as far as like how we work and what capacity that looks like, and kind of how we approach things. And in particular, I think the biggest thing for me early on was I always feel like Adam. I'm probably laughing at this because I think it's funny, but Adam thinks it's funny too. But I probably came off as somewhat of like a young kid that just had a weird ego problem where I probably would never even consider working with Adam in any capacity. We have funny stories about this, but and Adam and I just have like a really special relationship. Like I can't really describe it in any way. Like it's probably not like any other relationship a lot of other filmmakers have, as far as just like, Adam's like my best friend, known him for 12, 13 years now. We talk every day, and it's funny because, you always feel like there's like this separation needed between like business and personal. And we've tried that, and it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like we just gel so well. Like there's just a really great synergy. We have pretty similar senses of humor. We're just a bunch of just middle class guys in Indiana just trying to make it happen. So I think this was a really cool opportunity. Honestly, it was a really cool opportunity for Adam to really like spread his wings, where, I've tried to encourage him to, do things. I was encouraging him to do this for a really long time. And, the way the project kind of came about as far as the crediting goes, like, he did so much of the work and did so much of the lifting. And I didn't want to take anything that didn't feel like it was necessary or belonged to me. And so I just said, hey man, like I know the footage is here. You've been sitting on it for a while. Let's make something out of this. And, I just really helped him take it from the couple days that were shot to being an Oscar-contending, Critics' Choice Award-winning film with an A-list attachment. And so we just have valuable assets that we both bring to the table, which I think make us such a really bolstered team. And I think we just continue to learn every day. So it's great that like your best friend is also that too. And we just both, we have a really similar mindset when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah,
Let's talk a little bit. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Adam.
Sorry. The only note I'll add to that is that like the reality is that this film probably would not have seen the light of day if it weren't for one or the other. If it weren't for both of us combined, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. And I think that's just like critical for anybody wondering, why are there two directors on this short film? It's like, well, there just was, it just was the nature of, that's just how it had to happen for it to be something that a lot of people could see, to be able to get it to a lot of people. It took the both of us, because neither of us are great at everything, so. And yeah, I mean, that's something that we will probably continue doing like throughout our careers, is we talk about, hey, like, should we co-direct this one, or you direct this one, or when we talk about our slate and like projects, upcoming.
Yeah, we just did the Rocky Walls Who Docs CeeLo short, and like we got that grant, which was really cool, with Lift in Indiana Humanities, and like Adam was doing so much for that. And, it was a $5,000 grant. So like nobody got paid except the crew guys. And
not ourselves. We have to separate ourselves. We hired a very small crew.
And I think it was like on our second day, I just turned to him, or on our first day, I think I just turned to him and I was like, do you want the directing credit on this? Because you're like doing a lot and you're not getting paid. And he just looked at me and he was like, sure. Like, that's just how it goes. Like, it can be as simple as that. It's kind of just like an inherent visceral feeling that we try to be ethical guys, like we're not trying to short each other.
Credit where it's due, and also like an understanding that, well, I couldn't do all this shit without you, so we should probably partner on this. And then that's always how we get it, like it's always how we get it as close to perfect as you can. Like, and there is no such thing as perfect. It's a, you know, what's the saying, Sam? You know, you turn it in for a grade. And,
Oh, Picasso. Yeah, you just like art is never finished. You're just turning it in. Yeah.
But we like to turn in our best work, you know, the best we can do, even with, you know, only a small grant. We still want to, you know, do our absolute best work with the tools that we have, the tools that we're super grateful to have available to us. That
Yeah.
So
And
anyway,
yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
We can talk about this forever because like it's not perfect. Like the last thing I'll say, which I thought was, like, you know, we didn't talk for a year between 2022 to 2023. So I mean, you know, like sometimes but now our relationship's as better as it's always been. So I don't think that would ever happen again. I just think like
I had to let you grow up.
Yeah, you just you know, you just learn, man. And we're Saving Superman was a super instrumental building block into what we're building now, which is really cool. Even the call we had today, we're just trying to keep building.
That was another point I wanted to make, was just that without Saving Superman, I mean, we're probably always going to look back and wonder and be so grateful that we did it, and we did it the way that we did together. Because without it, who knows what things would look like. So yeah, a really great experience to get to share.
You mentioned a couple of things that I want to try and tie together in our maybe the last question here, which is you mentioned that, you know, you're Indiana filmmakers. I wonder whether people might be surprised about the talent level of people in this state, and that there's a festival like Heartland, which is, you know, nationally known, and then, you know, how you took that journey from a small personal project to, you know, being eligible and then winning a Critics' Choice Award, and that journey towards award season, which you never expect when you start something like this.
No.
I mean, yeah, I don't, Adam, if you want to go first or whatever.
It's kind of a mystery, you know. Sometimes I remember the moment I didn't get to go to New York. Unfortunately, had to work, and that all kind of like ties back in. Like, the reality,
he missed the Emmy ceremony for Greener Pastures earlier that year, so you would think that he would have like learned the first time. It's just like, man.
But I mean, so like I'm a freelance director of photography. That's my bread and butter. It's not the most exciting work at all times. Sometimes, you know, the joke is like one for the reel, one for a meal. But usually it's like 99 meals and then maybe one for the reel, and that's a passion project you paid for out of pocket. But it's the nature of the beast. And, you know, there's obviously been this huge shift in the industry. And I mostly mean like television and film, which isn't really a space that I'm really in beyond the documentary space. I've never worked on a scripted show. I've never worked on a scripted film. That's not to say that I wouldn't love to one day, but those are things that I think Sam and I both kind of have reservations about. Like, we're not like clawing our way to that, you know, right now. Like, we really love what we're building independently, and we would love to one day do more scripted, and work together on, you know, things that Sam writes and directs, and I can, you know, serve as the cinematographer. And the wildest thing is that, like, here we are in 2026, where there is so much talent and there's always been talent in the Midwest, in Indiana. It's not like the talent hasn't been there. It's just that people will take you seriously now, even if you don't live in one of the major markets like LA, New York, Atlanta, Chicago. You can get those meetings, you can get those doors open, you can get somebody to speak with you and, you know, hear about your slate, hear about your projects, watch your project without having to be living in, you know, one of the most expensive markets to exist in. I've got a lot of overhead just from owning and operating all of the equipment, to make up like a small production company, basically. where Sam and I can go out and we can shoot a really high-end looking interview. We couldn't go shoot like a feature narrative scripted film, but like we've both invested a lot of our own money into the camera packages, the lighting packages, the grip packages, to be able to make the independent thing work. But to be able to do that, we kind of have to decided, somewhere along the line, like, all right, we are going to live and work and be based out of Indianapolis, which is we're both from the same neighborhood on the northeast side of Indianapolis. We both went to the same high school. Yep, LC Bears, had to shout them out. We love Heartland Film Festival. I hate that I'm always working every year I feel like I can never attend like the fun events that they put so much time and energy into, putting on for us. But I'm so glad that people come from all over the world and from all over the Midwest to Heartland, and it's a destination and it's a festival you want to get into. If you don't get your film in, then it's not a shoe-in. It's not just an easy festival to get into. It's a great fest, and they keep improving every year. It's crazy. It just gets better and better. But I'm long-winded. I'm gonna let Sam take it away.
I forgot what the question was. Was it just like, what's it like
from this Indiana beginnings to this awards journey, and how it came together, how you were able to attract Brendan Fraser to the project, etc.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's just like every little step has to be intentional. Like, and yeah, I mean, the very first project I ever made, Adam helped shoot. It was called Little Warriors, and we won the grand prize at Heartland before Indie Shorts took over the shorts, which was cool. So like, yeah, I mean, just every single thing, you just learn something. And obviously, like, there's so many like stinkers and things along the way that are unfinished that you'll never see. Like, I mean, Adam and I probably did we did like Mare Among Sons, we did The System, we did like so many different we probably did like 5 projects I can think of at the top of my head that never saw the light of day. So like, things definitely happen where like you throw the dart at the dartboard and a lot of things don't stick, but when they do, we just try to make sure it's intentional. I mean, I would say really also like relationships go a really long way, and mentorship. Like I will say like, Andrew Cohn was a really big inspiration and mentor that got the first bit of funding that I'd ever received for any project for Greener Pastures, my feature, which was a Catapult Film Fund grant. And then also he connected me to Doc Society. So as soon as he got me in those relationships and my foot in the door, like I was able to do the work and continue to foster those relationships. And that led to like David and Linda Cornfield, Jason Stevens, and it just kept snowballing. Like I think it was funny because like during that 5 or 6 year period, I feel like I was actually really removed from indie, which was, I didn't even realize how much I guess I missed it, because prior to that, Adam and I were doing free music videos for like 4 or 5 years for like all the local guys here. And we did that for like half a decade, and they were like free. So like we were like really ingrained in the Indianapolis community for a long time. And then being out of it for like half a decade allowed us to really have a different sense of urgency about like what it takes to kind of be successful. And then now we're working on things here and out here, which is great because I love telling local stories. Like, it's cheaper, it's more tangible, you can build the relationship faster. Like, stories in indie are amazing. Like I really try to prioritize those now more than anything. So the Fraser thing happened because of a relationship that I culminated through my first Oscar campaign that I ran with the New York Times in 2024. His name's Ryan Mazie, like really great publicist / EP. Just built that relationship with him. And the Fraser thing was just, we looked for A-list celebrities that had a tie to, autism. And Brendan Fraser's son, just like Jonathan, has autism. And so we just reached out. IMDb Pro just reached out to his team, and it was that easy. And the film, I will say, film festivals also really help. Like Saving Superman, I have never worked on a project that had like the level of success that Saving Superman had when it came to festivals. Like I think I was texting Adam a screenshot every 4 days. Like, oh, we just got to do another one. Just got to do another one. Like I think our acceptance rate was like well over 50%, which usually it's more like 20% to 30%. if it's a good film. And so like, and we played at like 25 Oscar qualifiers, which prior to that, the other projects I made with Greener Pastures and Safe Place, those only got probably like 5 or 6. So to amplify that by 5 was insane. So it was just catching fire in the circuit, which I think helped too with the visibility. And then the night that we won the Critics' Choice Award, Netflix reached out. They wanted to know what our status was. We were working with Switchboard at the time, and we just kind of held on to Switchboard because we thought maybe there was like some appeal to being independent. And Celia's doing her thing with that again this year. So, she's empowering, uplifting indie filmmakers, which is great. Yeah, and now the film's got 250,000 views on YouTube, which is cool. And yeah, man, you just try to keep growing and building. And honestly, like, there's no secret formula to trying to find success in this business. I think it's luck, timing, relationships, and making good stuff.
Unless somebody has the formula, they could please hit us.
I used to think it was the Illuminati, man, or any of that. But
just to clarify too, like, even with the success of Saving Superman, Sam and I both have verbalized, and we both feel like it only gets harder. And people tell us,
I think it'll get easier. Yeah.
People tell us this all the time. They're like, it just gets harder. And we feel it, we see it, we experience it every day. We both still are active freelancers that, I've saddled myself with a lot of overhead. Sam's got to pay the bills. Like, it's a fight. I mean, it is truly like, sometimes it can get down to, the paycheck to paycheck stuff that you really try to avoid and you really try to save for. And it's just sometimes not that simple. And, you can try to prevent that from happening and try to keep yourself like, and that would be my advice to like any younger person that I ever encounter. And not that I'm 30, so I don't have a ton of advice to give, but Sam knows, like, I pull the trigger on some pretty crazy stuff sometimes and just hope and pray that it was a good financial decision with a return on investment. And I think I'm a spiritual guy. I'm not like a religious person, but I'm a pretty spiritual person. And I feel like someone's guiding me along this journey a little bit, because oftentimes things feel like they really do just fall into place the way that they're supposed to. And there's maybe some guiding force that, the universe has got our back. And Sam and I just like really persevere through whatever it may be. Like, it's like, okay, that didn't work out. We failed at that. Like, let's pick up and keep the momentum. And that's what Saving Superman allowed us, was momentum. Was the momentum to hopefully be able to get the next project started. And who knows? I mean, maybe one day there will be a feature-length scripted film, based on a true story that gets to tell Jonathan's story, for an extended length. I mean, we would have loved to spend enough time with Jonathan to tell a feature-length documentary, and I know a lot of people wanted to see that, but it's unfortunately it's not that easy. There's a lot of things that come into play to be able to make something like that happen.
Well, it's the beauty of independent film, is that the grit and the perseverance and the passion and the faith that it takes to make one of these things. It's just incredibly hard. And whether it's a short, whether it's a feature, and then to make a beautiful one, well done. And thank you for being here, and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Michael.